Acharya Stotar, Srimad Bhai Charanarvind, Bhaktivedanta Swami Shri Prabhupada ki, Anand Koti Vaishnav Vrind ki, Granth-raj Srimad Bhagavatam ki, Nitai Gaur Premanande. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to Shri Shri Guru and Shri Gauranga Chai Nitai Gaur Premanande. Hare Krishna. Actually, if possible, if Prabhus can move in the middle, I'm sort of feeling as if I'm looking at impersonal Jyoti, Brahma Jyoti of nothingness and voidness. So the verses we're covering today is from Canto 3, Chapter 17, text number 26 to the end of the chapter. That's what I've been told. Is that the case? Or? Huh? It's 20, is it? Okay. Verse 20? How many verses to cover? I was told to cover 26 to 31. Okay. So, 20. Okay. So just one verse or a few verses? Okay, let's see. Please repeat. Narayanam namaskritya Naram chaiva narottamam Devim sarasvatim vyasam Tato jayam mudirayed Nashtaprayeshva bhadreshu Nityam bhagavata sevaya Bhagavati uttama shloke Bhaktir bhavati naisthiki Om namo bhagavate vasudevaya Om namo bhagavate vasudevaya Om namo bhagavate vasudevaya Hiranyaksho nujastasya Priya priti krid anvaham Gada panir divam yato Yuyutsur mrigayan ranam Hiranyaksho nujastasya Priya priti krid anvaham Gada panir divam yato Yuyutsur mrigayan ranam Prabhus Hiranyaksho nujastasya Priya priti krid anvaham Gada panir divam yato Yutsur mrigam yangadam Priyakritiryadanamaham Yuyutsurmrigayanranam Hiranyaksho nunujastasya Hirakriti kridanvaham Gadapanirdivam yato Mataji Hiranyaksho nujastasya Priyapriti kridanvaham Gadapanirdivam yato Yuyutsurmrigayanranam. Word to word. Hiranyakshaha. Hiranyaksha. Anujaha. Younger brother. Tasya. His. Priyaha. Beloved. Pritikrit. Ready to please. Anuham. Every day. Gadapanihi. With a club in hand. Divam. To the higher planets. Yataha. Troubled. Yutsuhu. Desirous to fight. Mrigayan. Seeking. Ranam. Combat. Translation by His Loving Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada ki. Please repeat. His younger brother, Hiranyaksha, was always ready to satisfy his elder brother by his activities. Hiranyaksha took a club on his hand, took a club on his shoulder, and traveled all over the universe with a fighting spirit just to satisfy Hiranyakashipu. Purport by Srila Prabhupada, please hear. The demoniac spirit is to train all family members to exploit the resources of this universe for personal sense gratification, whereas the godly spirit is to engage everything in the service of the Lord. Hiranyakashipu was himself very powerful, and he made his younger brother Hiranyaksha powerful to assist him in fighting with everyone and lording it over material nature. As long as possible, if possible, he wanted to rule the universe eternally. These are demonstrations of the spirit of demoniac living entity. We'll go to the next few verses. Tam vikshyadu sahajavam vranad kanchana nupuram vejayantya sraja justam amshanyasta mahagadam. Hiranyaksha's temper was difficult to control. His anklets of gold tinkling about his feet was adorned with a gigantic garland, and he rested his huge mace on one of his shoulders. Mano virya viroksiktam asrinyam makuto bhayam bhita nili ire devas tarkshya trasta ivahaya. His mental and bodily strength, as well as the boon conferred upon him, made him proud. He feared death at the hands of no one, and there was no checking him. The gods, therefore, were seized with fear at his very sight, and they did themselves, even as snakes hide themselves for fear of Garuda. Purport. The Asuras are generally strong-willed, as described here, and therefore their mental condition is very sound. and their prowess is also extraordinary. Hiranyaksha and Hiranyakashipu, having received the boon that they would not be killed by any other living entity within this universe, were almost immortal, and thus they were completely fearless. Savaiti rohitan drishtva mahasasvena daityarat sendran devagnan kshiban apashyan vyanadad prisham. On not finding Indra and other demigods who had previously been intoxicated with power, the chief of the Daityas, seeing that they had all vanished before his might, roared loudly. Tato nivritta kridishyan gambhiram bhinna nisvanam vijagahe mahasatto vardhimatta ivadvipaha. After returning from the heavenly kingdom, the mighty demon, who was like an elephant in wrath, for the sake of sport, dived into the deep ocean, which was roaring terribly. Tasmin pravishte varunasya sankina yado gana sannadhiya sasadvasa ahanyamana apitasya varchasa pradharshita darutaram pradudruvaha. On his entering the ocean, the aquatic animals who formed the host of Varuna were stricken with fear and ran away. Thus Hiranyaksha showed his splendor without dealing a blow. Purport. Materialistic demons sometimes appear to be very powerful and are seen to establish their supremacy throughout the world. Here also it appears that Hiranyaksha, by his demoniac strength, actually established his supremacy throughout the universe, and the demigods were afraid of his uncommon power. Not only were the demigods in space afraid of demons Hiranyaksha and Hiranyakashipu, but so also were the aquatic animals within the sea. Savarsha pungan uddhau mahabalas charan namohar mina shasaneritan muhu maurya bhijagne gadaya vibhavarim ase divam statapurim prachetasa. Moving about in the ocean for many, many years, the mighty Hiranyaksha smote the gigantic wind, tossed waves again and again with his iron mace, and reached Vibhavari, the capital of Varuna. Purport. Varuna is supposed to be the predominating deity of the waters, and his capital, which is known as Vibhavari, is within the watery kingdom. Tatropalabhya suralokapalakam yado gananam rishabham prachetasam smayan pralabdhum pranipatya nichavaj Jagadame Daya Dhiraja Samyugam. Vibhavari is the home of Varuna, the lord of aquatic creatures and guardian of the lower regions of the universe, where demons generally reside. There Hiranyaksha fell at Varuna's feet like a low-born man, and to make fun of him, he said with a smile, "Give me a battle, O Supreme Lord." Purport. Demoniac persons always challenges others and tries to occupy others' property by force. Here, the symptoms are fully displayed by Hiranyaksha, who begged war from a person who had no desire to fight. Might as well finish it off. Tvam lokapalo dhipater brihatshrava virya paho durmada viramaninam vijitya loke khiladaitya danavan yadrajasuye napuraya jat prabho. You are the guardian. So this is Hiranyaksha speaking to Varuna. You are the guardian of the entire sphere and a ruler of wide fame. Having crushed the might of arrogant and conceited warriors, and having conquered all the deities and danavas in the world, you once performed a Rajsuya sacrifice to the Lord. Saeva mutsiktamadena vidvasa dridam pralado bhagavan apapati rosham samutham shamayan swayadhiya vyavochad ango pashamam gatavayam. Thus, mocked by an enemy whose vanity knew no bounds, the worshipable Lord of the waters waxed angry, but by dint of his reason he managed to curb the anger that had sprung up in him, and he replied, "O dear one, we have now desisted from warfare, having grown too old for combat." Purport. As we see, warmongering materialists always create fighting without reason. Pashyami nanyan purushat puratanat yaha samugye tvam ranamarga kovidam aradhayishyat asurashabhihitam manasvino yam grinate bhavadrishaha. You are so skilled in war that I do not see anyone else but the most ancient person, Lord Vishnu, who can give satisfaction in battle to you. Therefore, O chief of the Asuras, approach him, whom even heroes like you mention with praise. Purport. Aggressive materialist warriors are actually punished by the Supreme Lord for their policy of unnecessarily disturbing world peace. Therefore, Varuna advised Hiranyaksha that the very cause to satisfy his fighting spirit would be to seek to fight with Vishnu. Tam veeramaradavipadya vishmaya sayashyase veera saye svabhirvrita yasvad-vidhanam masatam prashantaye rupani dhatte sadanugrahechaya. Varuna continued, on reaching him, you will be rid of your pride at once and will lie down on the field of battle surrounded by dogs for eternal sleep. It is in order to exterminate wicked fellows like you and to show his grace to the virtuous that he assumes his various incarnations like Varaha. Purport. Asuras do not know that their bodies consist of 5 elements of material nature and that when they fall, they become objects of pastimes for dogs and vultures. Varuna advised Hiranyaksha to meet Vishnu in his boar incarnation so that his hankering for aggressive war would be satisfied and his powerful body would be vanquished. Thus end of Bhaktivedanta purports for 3rd canto, 17th chapter of Srimad Bhagavatam, entitled Victory of Hiranyaksha over all the directions of the universe. Jai Shri Bhaktivedanta purports ki, Shri Prabhupada ki, Jai. Om Ajnanatimirandhasya Jnananjana-shalakaya Chakshur Unmilitam Yena Tasmai Sri Guruve Namaha Sri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamahyam Nadati Swapadantikam Bandeham Shri Gurav Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Guruma Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sakrajatam Sahagana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadhutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhanvitamscha Hey Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Brindabaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vancha Kalpa Tarobhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैता गदाधर शिवासादि गौर भक्त वृंदा। हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्णा हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। भूतैर्महद्भिर्यैमा पुरो विभु निर्मायशेते यदमुषु पुरुषा। भुङ्क्ते गुणान् षोडशात्मका सोऽलङ्कृशिष्ट भगवान् वचांसि मे। श्रीकृष्ण शरणं शरणागतं कथा अमृतं सतत पिबतं। भक्ति वेदांत मार्ग पंथनम सर्वलोक ऋषिदेव जन्न प्रसन्नम, सर्वलोक ऋषिदेव जन्न प्रसन्नम। Hare Krishna. So here we see Hiranyaksha in the spirit wants to fight, but he is not finding a suitable combat. And we see Varuna here not accepting the challenge. So Kali Yuga is like that, without any reason, people want to fight. And it doesn't mean that we have to fight. So intelligently, like Varuna did here in this case, we should avoid. Because by agreeing to fight, our vital energy and time will be wasting on persons who will not help in us achieving the goals of life, of Krishna Bhakti that we want to pursue, but divert from it. So, when you play cricket, it is said that not all the balls you have to hit. Some balls you have to just let it go. So in life, we'll throw many, many arrows at us. So some arrows we don't have to counteract. In 7th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, Narad Muni says that Kripaya bhutajam dukkham, the best counteraction against miseries from other living entities is to be merciful to them. So by being merciful to those who are troubling us, actually is the best counteraction. Kripaya bhutajam dukkham. So those who are giving us dukkha, we have to be kripaya, merciful to them. That's the best counteraction. Or no counteraction, it is said, is the best counteraction for the devotee. Let the Lord counteract. But we don't even wish for that. Lord on His own accord will devise means. And as we know, this is the pastime just to set an example. So we have, in this temple, the Supreme Lord, Sri Sri Radha Gopinath in His splendid form. And how wonderful, all you devotees and pujaris are looking after them. Every time I come here, they look more blissful and blissful. And then, of course, we have the eternal servants of the Lord in Vaikuntha, Jai and Vijay. And their pastime is being recited here. So, I think previously I had mentioned this pastime, that once Lord's feet was being massaged by Lakshmi Devi. Lakshmi Devi said, "My Lord, your feet are so soft and tender, and how will you ever fight and defeat asuras?" And the Lord made a mental note of this. Oh, okay, my feet are very soft. How can I kill asuras? And so when the Lord desires anything, He wanted to show Lakshmi Devi how soft He really is. So when the Lord desires anything, just by sankalpa martra, by just His desire, everything is fulfilled. Therefore it is said, Natasya karyam karanam cha vidyate. The Lord does not have any activity to do where he can do everything. Nachas samas nabhitkas drishyate. And no one is equal to him. No one is greater than him. Parasa shakteir vividhaiva shruyate. And he has got many, many varieties of different energies which are competent to do anything he wants. Swabhaviki jnana bala kriyacha. And this is his innate nature, that he is full of knowledge. Jnana, full of strength, bala and kriya, and full in ability to do anything and everything. Thus, for the sake of Lakshmi Devi, he just desired to show her, how he can fight. So, at the doors of Vaikuntha, the four Kumaras came, and Jai Vijay, they stopped the four Kumaras, and we know what happened. They cursed them, and then the Lord came, and the Lord accepted the responsibility because Jai and Vijay were in his service. The Lord said, okay, they will take 3 beds in mood of enmity, and I will take 4 beds because my fault is greater. So this is responsibility that the Lord accepts and sets an example, especially for leaders. So every one of us in our own field, we are leaders. We have to accept responsibility when things go wrong. Then we have to accept, no, it is my fault. Therefore, I need to rectify it by going through penance, punishment allotted. And we see Parikshit Maharaj also doing that. As soon as he returns to his palace and he realizes what offense he committed, then immediately he desired that at this very moment all my kingdom, all my associates, all my wealth be taken away from me and I be killed because I offended a Brahmana, Shamik Rishi. So the Lord accepts the responsibility here. And so we see a great fight is about to ensue, in which Lord Varaha will kill Hiranyaksha, and then later on Hiranyakashipu. So when he kills Hiranyakashipu, at that time, we know Lakshmi Devi comes, and the Lord sees Lakshmi Devi, and he remembers, oh my Lord, how soft and tender your feet are. How will you kill Asuras? Then Lord Narasimhadev in his Ugra form just rose like that, looking straight into the eyes of Lakshmi Devi, and fire is coming from his eyes and mouth. And Lakshmi Devi, just faints there, becomes unconscious. And then thus she knows how soft really the Lord is. So the Lord is softer than a rose and harder than thunder. The Lord is everything that is possible. So just for that Leela pastime, the Lord does many of this activity. And of course, this is the question of rasa. And here we see the rasa of virya. So there are 10 rasas that scriptures describe. Raudra, fury. Adbhutas, wonder. We become wonderstruck. Oh, how can this be possible? Half man, half lion. Form of the bow, Varahadev, how can he lift the earth? Shringara, conjugal attraction, the epitome of which is Sri Radha Gopinath here. Then we have hasyam, laughter. It is said, what is, life without a good laugh? Once Prabhupada was, in a very jovial mood with his disciples, and he was joking, on very simple matters, and speaking very freely. So one of the devotees said, "Oh, Srila Prabhupada, aren't we meant to be serious?" Prabhupada said, "Yes, but this is the time for sense gratification." So let's enjoy. So there is a time for everything. When someone says a joke, if it's humorous, we don't have to contain ourselves. We should laugh, because the Lord also laughs. Lord Rama, he never laughs, but on few occasions he laughs. We see, that when he's on the bank of Ganges, and when the boatman comes, and the boatman insists that without washing his lotus feet, I won't let him come into the boat. Why? Because previously, actually there is a whole pastime around it, that in his previous life, he was a tortoise. And he wanted to touch the lotus feet of Lord Vishnu. So he came near, but then Lakshmi Devi was massaging the feet of Lord Vishnu. And she thought that if he touches, then my Lord's sleep would be disturbed, he'll wake up. So she looked at Sheshanak, who is none other than Lakshmana. And Lakshmana understood the mind of goddess of fortune. And immediately Lakshmana killed the tortoise. So in this next life, that same tortoise, because of having intense desire to save the lotus feet of the Lord, was born as a boatman. And that boatman, he was waiting on the banks of Ganges. And Lord Ram came there when he was exiled, and he needed to cross the Ganges river. And so this time the boatman, he remembered all the past history of his past life. So he said, my Lord, I cannot let you go on my boat. Why? Because just before that, the pastime of the Lord was that he, with his lotus feet, he touched the stone, and he turned the stone into a woman, Ahilya. So that Ahilya, she was cursed by Gautama Rishi. Anyway, that's another story. But the woman the stone turned into woman again by the touch of Lord's lotus feet. He delivered Ahilya. So the boatman goes, this is my only source of income. I already have one woman. If you touch my boat and it becomes a woman, what will I do with another one? We'll have no source of income. So I hear that there is magic in the dust of your lotus feet. So I have to get rid of that magic. So I have to wash your feet to get rid of all the dust from it. And then you can sit in the boat. So Lakshman became furious. How can you demand this from Lord Ram? He's king. And you are just a boatman. But the Kevat, he spoke and he said, oh, Lakshmana, in the past life you remember, I tried to touch, but you forbid me. But in this life, you won't be able to stop me. So, at that time, Lord Ram, it is said, he laughed out heartily. He laughed out heartily that, Sita and Lakshmana are always competing for the service of Lord's lotus feet. But here the Kevat is going to take both of Lord's feet, and these two are just going to watch. So the Lord laughed, and then he agreed that his feet be washed. So the Kevat, brought the plates and the utensils, got the Ganja water and washed the Lord's lotus feet. And then he took the Charnamrita himself and gave Charnamrita to his family. And then gave Charnamrita to Lakshman also. Lakshman, he was angry. But then when he took the Charnamrita, he became pacified. He became happy, Lakshman and Sita. So this is hasyam. So Lord wants to experience all these rasas. It's all about rasas, as Devamita Maharaj says. Then virya, chivalry. Daya, mercy. Bhayanaka, terror. Bibhatsa, ghastliness. Shantaha, peaceful neutrality. And prema, bhakta, loving devotional service. So the 5 kinds of rasas are favorable, and the 5 kinds of rasas here are unfavorable. So this fighting spirit is there in everyone actually. especially as children, the favorite pastime is what? To wrestle with each other, fight with each other. So this is there in the Lord as well. I remember when I was, maybe 9-10 years of age, then in Fiji, in Krishna Kalya temple, during Janmashtami time, every year they have the same drama. Birth of Krishna, grows up in Vrindavan, goes to Mathura, fights Mustika and Chanira, and kills Kamsa. Every year, same drama we'll be doing. So this one time, I was chosen to be Krishna. And I remember I was very excited. Why? Because as little kids, you want to fight. And so the fighting time, when it comes, the wrestlers are there. And so I knew, I'll have to fight the wrestlers. And eventually I'll I have to kill them, of course, in drama. But while fighting, I thought, I'll throw few good punches, and fully content myself. But to my utter disappointment, as we're fighting, wrestling, you hold your hands like this, push. But as soon as the hands released, I just swayed my hand to punch. And I didn't even hit him. I don't know whether Krishna killed Mustika or Chanura. Chanur. So I didn't even hit Chanura, and Chanura fell dead. He fell down dead. And I was going, I was very unsatisfied. When I said, thank God I'm Krishna, not Balram. Because Balram only fights with Mustika, and that's it. But now I have another fight with Kamsa. So I said, Kamsa will not leave him. So while fighting with Kamsa, I got on the chest of Kamsa. And then I think the final blow, as per the script, is like Krishna hits him on the chest and he dies there. So I thought I won't hit him in the chest first. And I actually gave him 2 or 3 good punches on the face. And then I hit him on the chest, and then, of course, so that's the fighting spirit, The Lord also He wants to have a good fight, we see, So we see in Bhagavatam also, but the Lord wants to fight with His devotees, not, ordinary persons. Prabhupada in one of the lectures says, to kill a demon, the Lord doesn't need to kill himself, come himself to kill them. Just, an earthquake is enough. Tsunami is enough. Something like that is enough because these demons are insignificant. But just to enact the pastime, the Lord comes. And the Lord fights with His devotees. But of course, in this case, the devotee has taken the part of an enemy. And he's raging in mood of envy. So through this pastime, the Lord is teaching us that this inimical nature, ichha dvesha, first we have desire to lord over the material nature, and because of that we have dvesha, we have envy. This is detrimental to everything, detrimental to our existence, detrimental even materially and spiritually both. So through this enactment of this pastime, the Lord teaches. So Lord Varahadev is mentioned as Yagna Sukara. Yagna Sukara means he is the master of sacrifice. He accepts sacrifice. And instead of giving sacrifice unto him, Hiranyaksha wants to fight and kill him. And so in the next chapter we'll see how the fight ensues. But this fighting does not harm the Lord. We'll see in the next part, that when Hiranyaksha speaks very, very crudely and speaks very, very harsh words, then in Srimad Bhagavatam it is mentioned that the Lord is hurt by the harsh speech. So sometimes even when someone speaks very harshly to us, we are hurt because we are not meant to hear harsh things about us, about ourselves. And the Lord even becomes hurt. And in another episode, when the Shamataka jewel, Krishna is accused of stealing the jewel. And even at that time, the Lord is hurt of being falsely accused. So when we also are hurt due to some false accusation, it is normal sentiment. We should not take too much out of it. Of course, we'll be hurt for a while, but we should overcome it. Krishna himself sets an example of overcoming that hurt and that sorrow. But then the Lord, He gives a good fight. And it is said that the blow of Hiranyaksha was just like petal of flowers. The Lord is not hurt by that. In the past time, we remember when the Lord, it's a very interesting pastime. Here, the fight is due to envy. Hiranyaksha is full of envy. But we see in Mahabharata, Bhishmadev is fighting with the Lord, but Bhishmadev doesn't have a tinge of envy. But he's still fighting, and he worshipped the Lord in mood of chivalry. And so when he's on the deathbed, he offers such beautiful prayers to the Lord. And in one of the prayers, he mentions, Smanigamam apahaya mad pratignya ritam adhikartum avapluto ratastaham. So, ritam adhikartum, he said, pratignya, the vow. My vow, O Krishna, you regarded to be more important than your vow. So what were these vows? So Krishna took the vow he will not take any weapons in the battle of Kurukshetra. And Bhishma was fighting for the Kauravas. But the Kauravas were getting killed day by day, and all the Pandavas were alive. And Duryodhana could not tolerate it. And he came at night into the chambers of Bhishmadev, and he spoke very, very harshly to Bhishmadev that you are on our side eating our food, but you are taking side of Pandavas. You are not fighting honestly. And to a Kshatriya, that is a great insult. And Bhishmadev, how could he explain to Duryodhana that even if I try my 100%, I'm trying my 100%, but even if I give it my 120%, the Pandavas will not be killed because Krishna is the protector. Who can kill the devotees of the Lord if the Lord wants to protect them? But to pacify the Duryodhana, Bhishmadev decided to take out 5 arrows from his quiver. And with those 5 arrows, all his life's austerity, he invested in those 5 arrows. And he made a solemn vow, tomorrow in the battlefield, I'll kill those 5 Pandavas. Bhishmadev knew he will never be able to kill the Pandavas. Why? Because Krishna is protecting. But Bhishmadev wanted to see how the Lord will protect his dear devotees. He wanted to see how the Lord protects his dear devotees. So Duryodhana became very happy when he said that. But Duryodhana is always what? Doubtful. Sanshaya Atma. Doubting everyone. So he doubted Bhishma. And he said, okay, grandfather Bhishma, I'm very happy you made this vow. Those 5 arrows, but you give it to me. I'll look after those 5 arrows, and in the morning I'll give those 5 arrows to you. And with this, Duryodhana took those 5 arrows into his camp. And there Krishna knew what has transpired. Of course, he is Paramatma. And Krishna is just walking from side to side, worried. And Arjuna is sleeping peacefully. Krishna goes to Arjuna, wakes him up. Arjun, wake up, wake up. Arjuna says, what is the matter? Krishna says, you have to wake up. There is danger pending. Tomorrow, Bhishma Dev will kill you all. He's got those 5 arrows. And he's given those 5 arrows to Duryodhana. So Arjuna said, so you solved the problem. Why are you waking me up? Why did we choose you? Our Guru Maharaj, explains very humorously that this is devotee, Devotees work hard and immediately at night time we sleep like a baby. And the time of Mangalarti automatically wake up. There is no anxiety. Why? Because Krishna is there, so why worry? This is the firm conviction of the devotee. So, but Krishna says to Arjuna, no, in this one, you have to resolve it. So, he said, what I have to do? You go to Duryodhana and you ask for those 5 arrows. Arjuna said, he's not giving us 5 villages even. And he'll give me those 5 arrows. Krishna said, yes, he'll give you those 5 arrows. You just have to remind him of an incident. So there was an incident that happened when the Pandavas were in the exile. At that time, Duryodhana, together with Dusasana and Karna, they came near where Pandavas were in exile, and just to tease them and incur insults, injury to the wound, they say, they were enjoying eating good food. The smell was going into Pandavas, and dancing girls were there. They were drinking alcohol, liquor, and they were doing all that. Just before that, Duryodhana had insulted a tribal girl by giving a very indecent proposal. And she went back to the tribe and told her brother and elders, and they were furious. Whatever he may be the prince of, Hastinapur, but he cannot insult, any one of our daughters. So they all came with all the weapons. Now, because although they were mighty warriors, Karna, is a disciple of Parshuram, who can defeat Karna? But because they were all drunk, in drunken condition, you are defeated already. They all captured them, and they were about to kill. But one of the senapatis, the commanders, they escaped, and they went to Yudhishthira and asked for help. Otherwise Duryodhana and Dushasana and Karna, they all will be killed. So Yudhishthira said to Bhima and Arjuna, you please, they are our brothers after all. No matter what they have done, you go and save them. Very, very reluctantly, Bhima and Arjuna went. They did not want to go. And Bhima was very furious, every time you do this to us. So they went and they released. But Duryodhana was so envious that he was not prepared to take help from Yudhishthira or any of the Pandavas. In fact, after the incident, he fought with the commander-in-chief who went to Yudhishthira to ask for help. Why did you ask for help? I rather die than take help from Pandavas. So much he hated Pandavas. And Duryodhana could not live with this burden that Arjuna saved my life. Not out of love, out of envy. So he said to Arjuna, you ask for a boon from me. Whatever you ask, I will give it to you. Because I can't live with this burden that you saved my life. So Arjuna just laughed it off. He goes, you just keep it. Whenever I need it, I'll ask. So Krishna reminded Arjuna. He goes, because you saved his life, that action of yours is still like a thorn in Duryodhana's heart. He can't still tolerate that you saved his life, and he still remembers that. So if you go and ask that, you promised me for a boon, and now I've come to ask, he will immediately, without thinking, just give it to you. So Arjuna went and he, to Duryodhana's tent, and there he was allowed in. That was the, mode that during the battle they fight, but in the evening they could get together in harmonious atmosphere. So Duryodhana by this time had realized, that perhaps this wasn't a good idea to fight. And so he had sobered down. He welcomed Arjuna. He was happy to see Arjuna. And he said, how can I save you? So Arjuna then said, you remember the promise you gave me? A boon, that whatever I ask you will give me because I saved your life there. So Duryodhana said, yes, how can I forget that? So he says, yes, what can I give you? So he says, those 5 arrows that Bhishma Dev gave to you, you give those arrows to me. So, without thinking, Duryodhana just picked those arrows and gave it to Arjuna. And Arjuna just went away with those 5 arrows. And then, for a moment in Mahabharata, it is said, Duryodhana is thinking, everyone is saying Krishna is the supreme personality of Godhead. How could have he known about the incident between me and Bhishma, about those 5 arrows otherwise? But then again, Duryodhana being Duryodhana, he said, no, he is a magician at best. He is not Lord. And he dismissed it. So in the morning, when Bhishma Dev got ready for a good fight with the Lord, then he went to Duryodhana and he said, give me those 5 arrows. I have to fulfill your promise today. Although he knew he'll never be able to kill Pandavas. He just wanted to see how Krishna will save them. So Duryodhana said, I don't have arrows. And he said, what happened? And Duryodhana related the whole pastime. And then Bhishma Dev became furious. He became furious. Why? Because he wanted to have a good fight. And he wanted to see how the Lord will fight to save Pandavas. But here, it is like an anti-climax. Without fighting, those 5 arrows were taken. And so how? So Bhishma Dev took a vow that Krishna made my vow go null and void. I took a vow, with these 5 arrows, I'll kill those Pandavas, but now I won't be able to kill with those 5 arrows because they are with Arjuna. Krishna broke my vow, I will break Krishna's vow. I will make him take a weapon. Although he took a vow, he won't take a weapon. So that day, he said, Bhishma Dev fought most violently. No one could stand in front of Bhishma Dev. Even Arjuna, he did not spare. He was taking arrows from his quiver, stringing it on the bow and releasing it at such ferocious speed that Arjuna was only defending himself. And it is said throughout the battlefield of Kurukshetra, Arjuna hardly perspired. But on this one occasion, he was perspiring. And at one point, Krishna looked back at Arjuna. Arjuna took the uttara, his upper garment, and he wiped his sweat. And Krishna could not tolerate that. Immediately, Krishna jumped out of the chariot. He'd taken a vow, I won't pick up any weapons. So he did not have any weapons, but there was a chariot wheel lying on the ground of a broken chariot. He took the chariot on his hand and he just went to kill Bhishma Dev. Bhagavatam says, Hari Rivahantum Vibam Gato Thoriya, like how a lion goes to kill an elephant, Krishna went to kill Bhishma Dev. Just picture this, lion going to kill elephant. Both are very strong, lion and elephant. So similarly, this analogy is made, like Krishna is like that lion and Bhishma Dev is like that mighty elephant. And as soon as Krishna comes, Bhishma Dev gives up his weapon and he's ready to, be killed by Krishna. But then Arjuna runs behind Krishna. Oh Krishna, you've taken a vow. Please, if you take up weapons, then I will be defamed. That because of me, you broke your vow. So there's a nice painting in ISKCON we have. You must have seen it. Krishna carrying the wheel of chariot and Arjuna being dragged by the force of Krishna. Arjuna holding onto the leg of Krishna, but Krishna is not stopping. Krishna is very, very angry as well. How can my devotee be harmed? But then, as soon as he hears Arjuna's plea, and as soon as he sees Bhishma Dev